Good evening, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It is Wednesday night, which of course means one thing. It is match preview showtime. And somewhat ridiculously, it is the last one of the 24-25 campaign. Another 9 months of ups and mainly downs for Gills as past. Three managers, not enough wins, too many defeats, too much arguing, too much negativity. But Gareth Ainsworth has come in over the last month or so and done really well. So we will head to Vale Park with the aim of being party poopers to stop them winning the title. And I'm pleased to say I finally nailed him down after a couple of attempts. Joining me to look ahead to this game is Scott Challinor. You can find him on X at Picardy Breezer. I'll put his details in the description at the bottom of the video, so go and give him a follow. He'll be in a good mood come 5 o'clock Saturday, regardless of the result, because Port Vale, as we know, are already up, promoted straight back to League One. Scott, before we start, welcome to the channel. Appreciate your time, and you must be absolutely buzzing. There's not many teams that go back straight up into League One at the first time of asking after dropping into League Two.
Yeah, cheers for the welcome, Matt. And yeah, I think buzzing's an understatement, really. We know there's going to be a trophy lift either way because the runners-up get a little cup as well. So there's going to be a presentation at the end of the game. Everyone's happy. So I suppose the title will be a nice bonus. But yeah, just kind of going back to what you were saying, there's not a lot of teams that bounce back at the first attempt. I think officially there's around about sort of 10% of teams that drop into League Two do bounce straight back. So to kind of get it done sort of first time of asking, it's just a massive relief, especially after sort of the disappointment of coming down 12 months ago.
Absolutely. And what has made Port Vale different for all the teams that, I mean, we were one of them teams only a couple of seasons ago, I think, and the season that we got relegated out of League One, the four of us, I think the highest finish for any of that quartet was 13th. So that's how difficult it can be. So what's been different that's stood Port Vale apart and made them the team that has gone straight back up?
Yeah, so it comes down to a couple of things, I'd say, Matt. So first and foremost, Darren Moore speaks a hell of a lot about the fact that a healing process had to kind of be undergone at the club. And what he meant by that was kind of re-establishing that connection between club and fans, because there was a lot of apathy in the team's performances. There was a lot of apathy with the ownership, despite how good they've been, just because the fan base kind of felt last year that there wasn't enough backing. Certainly, sort of in the January transfer window, it was obvious that we needed more reinforcements up front. We never really got them. We kind of just sort of cantered our way to relegation, really. But obviously, the backing has come from the owners in the summer to allow Moore to build his own squad. So they've kind of gone sort of a real way to sort of repaying the fans and almost apologising for that relegation by saying, you know what, we're all in this and we're going to try and get us back at the first attempt. Obviously, the performance of the team and that kind of, workman-like direct football, it's not necessarily always pretty viewing, but it's very much like, we're going to run through a brick wall. We're going to run harder than the opposition. We're going to outwork you. We're going to go after you off set pieces. We're going to get on the front foot. And, that kind of sort of style of play, that kind of work rate, 110% from every member of the squad, it, really resonates with fans. I mean, it's obviously Port Vale's based in Burslem, sort of it's a real working class area. So like what the fans do want to see here is somebody who's going to, just give blood and thunder and everything for the team. And I think what Moore has done is he's built a squad that's definitely willing to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's half the battle, isn't it? And there's not many teams that play their way out of League Two. And, the Swindon a couple of years ago were close. Forest Green did it. MK Dons have tried and failed massively this season and last. So there's not many teams that can look nice and get promoted. And fans don't care, do they? I'm not being funny. If you're winning every week, they don't care what the football looks like. It only becomes an issue if you stop winning football matches. But Darren Moore certainly built a side that's won more than they've lost. And if we just have a quick look at the last 6, you've taken 13 points from the last 18, which is the kind of form you want in the running when it's, the business end, squeaky bum time, all them cliches. You've beaten Bradford, you've beaten Walsall, you thrashed Bromley, drew with Grimsby, and then obviously a really good result last time out, beating Wimbledon at their place, which sealed promotion back to the third tier. The only disappointment one was Carlisle a couple of weekends ago when you lost 3-2. But yeah, second on 80 points, and like I say, 13 from the last 18 is a brilliant return. Just go look at quickly for Gills for any Port Vale fans that are looking. It's 10 points from the last 18, and that's come in the way of 2 wins against MK Dons and Wimbledon by the same scoreline, 1-0. And then draws all the way. Salford 2-2, Chesterfield 1-2, Cheltenham 1-2, and Swindon most recently 1-2. You spoke about Darren Moore, Scott, and I think he's a very good manager. I think he took a job at West Brom a few years ago, didn't he, and tried to keep him in the Premier League. He was then sacked when they were on the verge of the playoffs, seemed very harsh. Is it fair to say that Darren Moore's a manager that maybe doesn't get the credit he deserves? Because if you look at his jobs, West Brom harshly sacked.
Mm,
Donny improved them and then left to go Sheffield Wednesday, which he was always going to do. No disrespect to Doncaster, but Sheffield Wednesday's a massive club. Um, Failed at Huddersfield, I think it's fair to say. But again, there's circumstances surrounding that. And then he's got you promoted at the first attempt in terms of his first full season, his first 2 windows of being able to stamp his authority on the squad. Do you think he's a manager that gets maybe a little bit of short shrift from pundits and fans? And ultimately, what's your thoughts on him? I mean, obviously, I'm sure he's loved because he's
yeah.
just got promoted.
Yeah, well, I think it depends on whether you're winning or not, because I suppose when you're winning, you're playing workman-like football, you're snatching games
Mm-hmm.
1-0 and everything's going well. Then, like, obviously, it's great because people be like, "Oh yeah, we don't care kind of how we play as long as we get 3 points." But when it's not pretty viewing and you're not getting the results, so say you go on a little bit of a run of, say, few draws, maybe the odd loss here and there, very similar to kind of how we were around sort of November, December time when we had a lot of injuries in the engine room, the midfield, and that really kind of affected sort of
Mm-hmm.
performances translating into results. Um, there are a lot of people then that think, oh no, I mean, if we do fail to get promoted this year, I mean, I couldn't do with another year of watching this. It's boring. It's a hoofball. It's this, that, and the other. So I think because it's not pretty viewing and it's not kind of like play out from the back possession style football, when it's not going well, people can turn on him quite quickly. But then when you are getting the results and you are nicking games and you kind of see that work rate there and you see the togetherness within the side, everyone seems to be right behind him. So he's a very kind of, people kind of blow hot and cold on him for that reason, I feel. But his recruitment has been sort of second to none. I mean, the players he's brought in, he's attracted some incredible caliber of players from sort of higher up in the pyramid. Obviously, like 5 years ago, you never dream of signing the likes of George Byers, Jaheim Headley, Jaden Stockley at Port Vale. So like I say, that speaks for itself. He's worked at bigger clubs. He's got that ability to attract. And I think kind of once he gets the players that he wants, that brand of football does become more effective over time. And we've seen with the return of Jaheim Headley, because he came in, had a real impact sort of in the January. He came in January, it was a January signing, had a great first sort of 3 or 4 games, then got injured, came back in literally for the last couple of matches, and he's come up with 2 assists and a goal just to help get us over the line. So players like that he brings in that have that real impact, like I say, it just speaks volumes as to how good his recruitment is.
And then you've had George Byers, who's missed large chunks of the season as well. To have him back for the running, again, the key time is phenomenal as well, because it's a player that come out of the Championship. And I think that was probably the one where everyone went, cool, bloody hell, Port Vale mean business this season. But there's been plenty of other ones. And you talk about, it's difficult to watch if you're not winning football matches, but if you're nicking 1-0 here and there. But you've not just been that, have you? I mean, if you look at them last 6 games, I think you scored 15 goals. It's not like you're just scraping wins and winning by the odd goal. You beat Bradford 2-0. You beat Walsall in a 5-goal thriller. You spanked Bromley for 5. You even scored twice when you lost to Carlisle. Grimsby 2-0 entertaining game. Beat Wimbledon 2-0, but kept a clean sheet as well. So this is why we do these chats, because if I looked at that and went, that's that last 6, I'd go, Port Vale free scoring, entertaining or whatever. This is why we get people on like yourself, because you can tell us a little bit more and dig a little bit deeper for us. But I want to talk about the recruitment, because I thought at the start of the season it was really good. You're one of my good ones in terms of my season preview, because I said Port Vale go up automatically. So that's a big tick. I also had MK Dons to win the league and Gills to finish 4th. So we'll quickly move on. Was there a moment, just before we get onto the recruitment though, was there a moment as a fan where you went, maybe it was a goal or a game or a result or a decision that you went, yeah, this might just be our year?
I think the first time I thought that was probably back in October when we won at Meadow Lane. We scored first half, sort of kept them out. And then, like I say, Alessandro Jatta had a couple of really good chances. And like I say, the keeper at the time, Connor Ripley, was equal to both of them. And I thought then that, we do mean business. If we're coming here to, sides that are tipped to go up and we're getting results like that, then, yeah, we mean business. And then, like I say, we had that little dip over sort of kind of like November, December time. And then the next time I felt like, yeah, we're back. We're sort of hitting our stride again was when we kind of beat Doncaster at their stadium. I think it's called like the Enviro event or something, the Eco Power or something.
Oh, yeah, horrible names, yeah. Hate
horrible
it.
name.
Hate sponsor names.
So we went there and won 2-1. And like I say, that was our first win in around about 8 or 9 games. And I thought at that point, there's been signs over the last couple of sort of, improvement in the performances, a couple of players back from injury. And then I thought, right, you know what? Like, this is now our time to kind of string the run together again. And luckily we did that. And then we got to a point where, like I say, you talk about that last 6 games. There was a run of games coming up where we played. I think it was Crewe, Bradford, Walsall back to back, and I thought at the end of that run of games, you know, we will know whether we're going to be a playoff side or we're going to be an automatic promotion side. And
won the lot.
Yeah, won the lot. Yeah, exactly. So I think it was after the Bradford game where, you know, people thought, you know what, we're probably going to win the league, because I think Bradford were either top or second at the time, and beating them 2-0, blinding performance. We thought, you know what, yeah, I think we're going to finish in the top 3. So I think that was the moment where I thought we are definitely going up. But the first time I really started to believe, I'd say, was as early as October when we won at Notts County.
Fair enough. Yeah, because I remember you coming to our place in November, and I think you did have injuries at the time, which is, again, it's a circumstance that makes a difference. But I don't know what you thought of the performance, or if you can remember it, but I thought you were bang average that day. We've beaten teams this season, like we've beaten Bradford, we've taken 2 points off Walsall, we've beaten you, we've beaten Notts County. I don't know if it's felt this to you, but I know last year was slightly different because you had Stockport, you had Wrexham, you had Mansfield. And we know that, you know, Wrexham have now gone back to back to back. Has there been a standout team for you? I don't think I've seen one. I don't think I've looked at any team and gone, "Core, they could run away with it." It's been very much a more level playing field. And whether that's diminished the quality, maybe, but I think it certainly makes for a better competition.
Yeah, it's been a lot more level pegging this year for sure. To be honest, the only exception up until the middle of January probably would have been Walsall, and then as soon as Nathan Lowe's gone back, like they've just completely fallen off a cliff, haven't they? I mean, it's like they've won something like 2 in 19 or 2 in 21 or something like that. So they would have probably been the side where, you know, they could probably hit 90 plus points, similar to what Stockport did last year, and like that they just obviously fell off a cliff. So since they've kind of dropped back and almost become mere mortals again, it's like it has been a level playing field across the board. So yeah, there's not been any team that's run away with it. That top 3's kind of regularly changed hands. We've seen us in there, Salford in there, Crewe in there at some point of the season. So yeah, it's been a much more even season. And I think as a result of that, we kind of benefited from the fact that that benchmark for sort of slipping into the top 3 is probably on the lower side this year, because I think Mansfield, who finished 3rd last year, I mean, they finished on something like 86 points, which would have been a massive effort just to get that this year.
Yeah.
And like we're up and we've got 80. So it just kind of shows that there has been a little bit of a drop off there.
That's it, yeah. And even if results, you know, if everyone loses at the weekend, Bradford go up with 75 potentially as well. So it is, and sometimes that's been borderline keeping you in the playoffs. So yeah, I understand that. But I said I wanted to talk about recruitment. We all know that, you know, it's strikers, attacking players that always get the praise, they get the headlines. I picked out 3 players that I would say, I know it's fairly obvious, have been massive towards what you've done. That's Lauren Talai, 22 goal contributions, Jaden Stockley, 18. I wrote 4 down actually. Ronan Curtis, 10, and Ryan Crowsdale, 9 in the middle of the park. And Crowsdale was the one that sort of jumped off the page at me because he did it with Stockport last season, and he plays that slightly less glamorous role. So I tried to shine a light on them. But the question I want to put to you, Scott, is about Talai. Have you been surprised at just how well he stepped up from League One? Because he was very good for Aldershot. And I know people say that the gap between the National League and League Two is not huge now. But to step up and go 14 goals and 8 assists in his first season in the Football League is astonishing. Just how good has he been?
Yeah, he's been brilliant. And I think it's been more of a kind of a work in progress with him, because in the first half of the season, we were playing sort of more of a 3-4-3 rather than kind of like the 3-5-2 that we're playing now. And that kind of meant that Talai was featuring either left or right of a front 3, which kind of wasn't really his sort of favoured position. And you found that the kind of the little nuances of his game that he needed in that area, where it was like just little layoffs, little touches, it just wasn't quite getting the best out of him. He was scoring the odd goal here and there, but performances just weren't quite stacking up, and he ended up being out of the squad for a little while. But then since being reintroduced sort of in January, going through the middle in that front 2, it's been like a whole new lease of life for him. And like we've seen the best of him in terms of, you know, his hold-up play, occupying defenders. He's been an absolute dream to play with for Jaden Stockley. So he got even more out of him as a result of Talai sort of playing as well as he has. And like I say, he's just found that instinctive goal-scoring touch again as well. And like I say, he's been a nightmare for defenders for weeks on end now, and he's really made himself a real fan's favourite here. So yeah, second half of the season, I'd say he's really, really kicked on. And like I say, him finding form at the right time has been massive for us getting promotion at the end of the day.
Yeah, another one who, if you look in the last 6 games, 8 goal contributions is absolutely huge. You can't by that type of contribution at key times. And just looking at his match ratings, all right, I was quiet last weekend on the app I use, but you've got Walsall in a huge game, 9.5 goal, 2 goals and an assist, I think it was, scored against Bradford. Yeah, so that was that key period you were talking about in them games against Crewe, Bradford and Walsall. He's had a real impact in all of them.
Yeah, and even when he doesn't quite, sort of register the goals and assists, I mean, he never stops running. He's always like kind of chasing down defenders, always kind of forcing mistakes. So just that little side to his game as well, and the way he's kind of almost been linking up with Stockley. I mean, those two have really kind of got a bit of a blossoming partnership now, and quite often it felt like it was one way. Like Jaden Stockley was almost kind of feeding him with the knockdowns, but we've seen a little bit of a metamorphosis of that where they kind of have been feeding each other in recent weeks, and yeah, so it's kind of really taken that sort of forward line to a whole new level.
That's it. And just looking at that trio of games again that we keep alluding to, like I've said, Talai scored and assisted against Walsall and Bradford, and it was Stockley who got the winner against Crewe. So a proper partnership, which you have to score goals to be a successful team. And I'm intrigued even more so now, mate, about Saturday, because I know you've got the added layers of Port Vale going for the title, but Port Vale are going to be celebrating whatever. So it's a weird one. Now, we'll approach the game just to try and win a football match, I think. And from what you've spoken about your team and Darren Moore, I think it's going to be similar to what Gareth Ainsworth wants us to do and maybe wants us to become. All he's spoken about since coming in is emptying the tank. All he's spoken about is fans would do anything to play for the football club. So you've got to be shown to be willing to run through brick walls and do what fans would do. So I think it could be an interesting matchup. There's potential for it to be very entertaining as well, because you're going to have one eye on Doncaster, seeing what they're doing. So it might be that you're in front and they're not. So you might sort of shut up shop and stick to what you've got if you're in the lead, or it might be that we're level and they've scored, so you need to go and get a goal to try and put pressure back on them. So there's a load of sort of subplots to what could be a really interesting story. And yeah, we're both in decent form, aren't we? You've won 4 of the last 6 at Vale Park. I don't think we've lost on the road under Ainsworth. I think we've drawn all 5. So we've made ourselves hard to beat. We've scored in every game under Gareth as well, which means that we will be a threat. Final bit before I ask you for your final score prediction of what's been a really good campaign is since 2010-11, we've played 15 times. We've won 4. There's been 5 draws and 6 wins for Vale. So it's not been, one way or the other in excessive form. We've scored 17 and conceded 19. And then at Vale Park is where you've got the upper hand. You've won 4 out of the 7. There's been a couple of draws, so only 1 win for the Gills. But what's going to be the outcome Saturday, 5 o'clock, in terms of, forget Doncaster for now. Are you confident that you can see us off and at least keep your side of the bargain in terms of trying to lift the title and not get the consolation prize? So, I mean, it's one hell of a consolation prize going into the last day knowing you're up.
Yeah, I fancy us to do it, but I don't think we're going to make easy work of it at all. Because, like I say, I mean, Gillingham are now very, very hard to beat under Ainsworth, and even though, like I say, he's an ex-Vale player, he's got an affinity with us. He's not going to be looking to do us any favours. He'll want to take as much momentum into next campaign as possible, and kind of sort of maintain that mantra of let's be hard to beat, let's not sort of roll over and get our bellies tickled. So
he did speak highly of you. Sorry, just to interject, in his press conference after Swindon, I think he said, "I'm glad that Vale are up." He said, because I've got a big affinity with the football club. And he said, I don't want to be the club that has to go there and try and stop them going up automatically. So, yeah, there is clearly a good relationship between him and Port Vale, which is great to see. And he was open and honest about that. But, yeah, he's got a job to do for us now, hasn't he?
Exactly. And to be honest, I mean, I suppose the benefit for Gills coming here is that, the pressure's off as well. There's obviously nothing to play for. You won't go down. It's basically just a case of, express yourselves and just obviously see what you can get. So, like I say, I mean, I actually fancy Gills to score first, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a humdinger, to be honest, because we'll probably be a little bit rusty after the promotion celebrations this week. So I'm thinking we'll go behind, and then it'll probably finish around about 3-2 in our favour. I think we'll get a couple of late goals.
There's a story to this. When Ainsworth got promoted, we've got like a little WhatsApp group between about 8 fans that we chat in, and I did one of them League 2 predictors, and I've got us to finish on 56 points. Now we're on 55. So there's part of me that says, can we get a draw? So it looks like I know what I'm talking about, which is always good when you run one of these channels. Obviously, I'd like us to win. I think both teams will score. I think that's a fair bet. We've scored in every game under Gareth, like I said, and you're pretty free-scoring at the moment, I think it's fair to say. I think we might just stop the title parade, and you might have to settle for the the second place trophy. But that's, like I say, there's a selfish aspect to that. But I've written down 1-1.
Yeah,
But it
well,
could be anything, couldn't
could
it?
easily
Like I
happen.
say,
Could easily
I
happen.
can also see it though. If you score first, it could end up opening the floodgates and that type of thing. So it's got all the makings of being a really good afternoon. It's my first visit to Vale Park. Really looking forward to it. Congratulations, I think is all that's left to say, mate. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and you couldn't have picked a better time to come and see me for the first time, because promotion is what we're all in it for, isn't it? I know we say that, you know, we all laugh when it's not going so well. We say it's the football that ruins a good day out, but that's what we're in it for. That's what we buy season tickets for, and that's why we travel up and down the country, because we want to see our team do well. So from me, congratulations to everybody associated with Port Vale. If it wasn't us coming up, I'd say go and win the title, but obviously I want us to get something out of the game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you want to take as much momentum into next season as possible. Obviously, yeah, appreciate the congratulations on promotion, and like I say, hopefully it's yourselves next year. I mean, we all know Ainsworth really, really well. He's a great manager, and I think I suppose what Gills need now is, after a lot of overhaul, a lot of chopping and changing, is a bit of stability. And I think Ainsworth is, well, he's proven, given time at Wickham, he could really, really build up a club. And I think he'll get that credit in the bank. He's already sort of seems he's hit the ground running at Gillingham, made it hard to beat. Give him a summer and see what he can do. And I reckon, like I say, it might always be pretty viewing, but I reckon he'll definitely be getting results, and you'll definitely be up at the business end come next season.
I'm not getting too far ahead of myself. We've been told that for the last 2 seasons. That's why I was pleased when he got announced. And I'll repeat myself, because I've said this to a couple of guests that I've had on, but they come out now and said there has to be a process. There's 2 years journey to get us to where we want to be. And that's what we have to be. We can't keep just shouting out, oh, we're going to get promoted, because it just annoys people when it keeps going wrong. You just look daft, don't you, when you're 7th, and you keep telling everyone you're going to get promoted. Anyway, Scott, thanks again. Really appreciate it. Gills fans and Port Vale fans, if you are watching at this point, I really do appreciate it. Please consider hitting that like button, and please keep continuing to press subscribe as we try to get to 3,700 subscribers as quickly as possible. Might be a big order to get there by the end of the season, but if we do, thank you very much. Like I say, your support is always noticed and doesn't go unappreciated. You may notice that I'm not usually in this type of shirt, but I believe us Gills fans are travelling to Vale Park in our numbers at the weekend wearing Hawaiian shirts. So I thought I'd give this an airing before the weekend. As always, like I say, thanks for watching. We will be there at Vale Park for something of a party atmosphere. But until then, enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks again to Scott, and most importantly, up the Gills.